Hello and welcome to the breakdown here on, are we on? Okay. I am your host, Ben, today, and today is a couple of things, and one of those things is the anniversary, the 24th anniversary of the September 11 attacks, and that unfortunately has been overshadowed by the assassination of the conservative debater Charlie Kirk, and I obviously that's going to be pretty heavy on the show today. I'm not going to spend the whole show talking about this, but as I was prepping last night, as I do for the breakdown every week, I was like, you know what? I do have this platform to speak my mind, my free speech, and I'm going to use it today to, I guess, kind of try to break down what I think and feel about the state of things right now. And I'm certainly not going to be, let me start by saying I understand that this is not a show watched by millions. Okay. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that to be the case, but I know that people do listen to me on this show, and every week I've got some different eyeballs that see this. So that being said, I'm going to do my intro. We're going to get through this today, folks. It just really shook me up yesterday all day. But let me just intro by saying we are coming to you live from the Neon Parrot Live studios at the Majestic Coffee Shop. I'd like to thank my producer extraordinaire, Sam Wolf, a.k.a. Sammy to me. And I also need to... I just feel like for me, I'm going to do a disclaimer today that my thoughts and opinions in no way reflect the thoughts or opinions they could, but this is just for me. They know, as far as I'm concerned, my thoughts and opinions in no way reflect the thoughts and opinions of my producer or my guests that appear on the show. And they can refute that if they'd like. That'd be great. But, so today we are all here after watching someone get murdered on screen. It's just really wild. I can't recall the last time that that's happened that I can remember since John F. Kennedy in the 1960s, which I wasn't alive for, but I've seen all the footage, and that was pretty bad, and it's grainy and basically black and white. So yesterday I watched it a few times because I was just trying to, it's like when you see it, you're just like, what the hell? Is that real? Did that just happen? Okay. So, and then today being, I hate it that, today's 9/11 and that's what we should be thinking about. And I have my own thoughts and opinions on what really happened that day, just like many of you do 24 years later, but that doesn't take away from the fact that so many lives were lost, like 3,000 people. At this point, I don't really care who or what was behind it. We know what the aftermath was, and we know that a lot of kids didn't have their parents come home from work that day, just like two kids didn't aren't going to see their dad come home from work today after this assassination of Charlie Kirk. So I'm going to get into this. But first, before I really get into my opinions on the state of this country, I'm going to introduce myself politically on this show, which I've never done before, because I don't want to alienate. I haven't wanted to alienate any of my viewers of this program, and hopefully it won't. What I have to say regarding these issues won't alienate anybody that enjoys this show. This show's supposed to be fun. But we do go into AI stuff with the Lancium Stargate. I've gone over that a lot. We've talked about some current events over the course of the show, which has been running for Trav said it would be a week or a year next week. And I'll try not to just ramble to death today, but I'm going to get through this and I'll get on track and it'll start flowing. But I am trying to temper myself a little bit as to not offend any groups of people as best I can. So here I go. I'm going to introduce myself politically. Who am I and what brought me here? Well, you see, I grew up in Midland, Texas, home of George Bush. My friend Lee, growing up, lived across the street from his wife Laura's mother. And we actually occasionally would feed her cats. So if that tells y'all anything about where I came from. Very politically conservative upbringing, okay? I went to a private Christian school that was also very conservative. Then I went to college at Texas Tech. And that's when I started wearing Che Guevara t-shirts and voting Democrat. Voted for Charlie Stenholm for Congress in like 2004 or something. And then I got out into the working world, had a family, and the Democrat Party began to not make very much sense to me at that time. So I found myself being staunchly conservative, very right-wing. And now, where has been now, okay? Now, I finally, some years back, probably I would clock it at 2020, I found my people, my camp. And my camp is the libertarians, the people that I believe are the freest thinking of all political areas of this country. And yes, we have some kooky libertarians. We have, we got wackadoos too, but for the most part, what I identify with is politically, I don't want to mess with you, and I don't want you to mess with me. And I'd like to figure out some clearer lines on the tax system and how all this works, and maybe find a better way. Okay, so that means you put into your body what you want, I put into my body what I want, and we don't dictate that. I'm a staunch believer in the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. Those are the two most important, in my opinion. So what we have yesterday is we have a young man, 31 years old, practicing his First Amendment. That let me go ahead and start with this as well. I don't agree with several things that Charlie Kirk spoke about, okay? But I did agree with a lot of them. But the point is that does somebody, where are we right now? Where we're going to kill a guy live, it's just the shocking nature of this. I thought I'd seen it all, that there's just something, if that didn't turn your stomach, then I don't know what's wrong with you? Which leads me to my next point is we have people all over the internet that are glorifying this and praising this and laughing about it. And so that brings me back to what the hell's going on here. And I do have a video that I'll try to make work here in a minute of some of the things that are being said on college campuses and et cetera. I have a kid in college right now at Texas A&M. And, you know, this is where I want to be careful not to try and alienate anybody if I can. But, you know, this violence as of late has been coming from one direction. Okay. We also have the Ukrainian woman that was randomly murdered on a train in North Carolina the other day. And we have people that are glorifying that. But I am going to go ahead and take my shots now, and then we'll try to move through this. But the Democrat Party rhetoric, as of the last, quite frankly, since 2016, okay, is comparing Donald Trump to Hitler and the Nazi Party in 1930s Germany before the war really kicked off. And that, you people are responsible for this. Because of that rhetoric, it is making people take up arms and shoot unarmed, unaware people. The president was, and okay, I understand. I'm a conspiracy guy with the best of them. I got some UFO stuff coming up in a minute whenever this gets a little more lighthearted. But, you know, the president was shot. The 2 people died at that rally. I'm pretty sure it was 2, a father. And so I'm just saying, the violence that I'm seeing is coming from one direction over the last 4 years. In 2020, Black Lives Matter and Antifa torched cities, starting with Minneapolis, Minnesota. And quite frankly, with little to no repercussion. And all the media wants to point their finger at is the MAGA people. I am not a MAGA guy, okay? Let me make that very, very clear. I'm a libertarian, and it's not a cop-out. I'm trying to kind of really put myself out here today. The only claim to violence as of late was January 2nd, 2021, or whatever it was, where there was a riot at the Capitol. Some windows got broke and some cops fired some rubber bullets, and well, one lady did get killed. But as I'm really trying to think here, that's all we got for the most part. And we have had a Jewish couple gunned down at a synagogue a couple months back by a man yelling "Free Palestine." We've got a transgender person shooting up a church on the first day of school mass 2 weeks ago. We've got the Nashville transgender shooter. We've got, I could keep going on, which I just might. And here again, at the risk of me alienating groups, I hate it. Trump's had 2 assassination attempts that we know of. The trial started for one of them yesterday. The guy on the golf course that was waiting with a rifle on the freaking 3rd hole. You know what I mean? Like, the rhetoric of primarily the media and the Democratic Party is making people take up arms and kill people, quite frankly, that aren't even that aren't even ready for it, okay? So, what I'm here to ask you is there's 500 million guns in this country that we know of. 500 million. Do you know who owns most of those? I do. And I know who's just started getting into that world. I know who they are too. And what I'm concerned with, and what everyone should be concerned with, is what happens when one side decides to go after the other side. What happens when men feel like they're at war? And I swear, you don't want to see it. And I don't want to see it. But we're getting close. Because I've got a quote from Charlie Kirk here. Okay. Charlie Kirk says, when people stop talking, that's when you get violence. That's when a civil war happens. Who wants to go talk now? You know, I'm not debating anybody here. I'm not flying a flag. I'm just simply talking in my thoughts what the brass tacks is here, what the dollars and cents is, and what the math is. And, you know, the poor guy, 31-year-old father of two, husband, is dead now on freaking the internet. Everybody got to see that. That was his quote. Like, I don't know when he said it, but he did. And when people stop talking, that's when you get violence. That's quote. That is when a civil war happens. How close are we, folks? You know, I don't know. I'm a bit contrarian and can be at times quite cynical of the things that I see, and the fact that our country runs on McDonald's and Coca-Cola. So, like, do I think enough people are really going to get rowdy out there? Not really, but it doesn't take much. That's the thing. And it doesn't take a whole lot for us to get completely turned upside down here with the country and the world as we know it, as our daily activities. Because who now wants to go debate people at a college campus? I sure as hell don't. There's probably not going to be another Charlie Kirk, because whose wife, whose parents, whose kids are going to let him go do that now? So your freedom of speech here is getting completely stepped on. And we need okay, so I'm going to go back and forth, and then I'm going to get to the other stuff that I got to talk about today. But we need a cultural shift. We've got to call out this rhetoric of Hitler and Nazis and all these things, and somebody's got to be responsible and quit doing this, because young people primarily, who are ideological, young men, are the most dangerous creatures on this earth walking around. Young men from the age of 16 to 24 are the most dangerous people that are walking. They're the most dangerous animal on this planet, because they're not old enough to realize that their ideals don't really hold a lot of weight. And that you're kind of, at the end of the day, you're on your own, bud. You know? And that's the beauty of age. And that's what Travis and I talked about earlier regarding the guest that he had on his show. He was a young guy, really bright, had a lot of very interesting takes. I'm going to rewatch it later. So, Charlie Kirk is now a martyr of free speech. How many other, where do we go from here? Political violence can't be tolerated, like it can't be tolerated, and it has to not be tolerated amongst our families and friends. And I have an acquaintance, a friend of mine, that obviously is going to remain nameless, that says Trump is Hitler. This person does. And I'm like, okay, now does this person, do you think that they realize that rhetoric is part of what is fueling this fire? And I'm willing to believe that person wouldn't think that. So that's what kind of division that I'm really seeing here. You got Luigi Mangione, the guy that murdered the healthcare CEO. And he is, I mean, for God's sake, he's on T-shirts and stuff. And like, I don't like healthcare CEOs. I think they're probably snakes, and they're probably terrible humans that take advantage of people and take everybody's damn money all the time. But should we kill them? No, we shouldn't. And then if somebody does, we damn sure can't glorify it. So damn. And it's like, I am kind of taking the conservatives' backs here today, because Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away a few years back. She's the most liberal of liberals that we've ever seen. And all I ever saw was, I didn't agree with that lady, but God bless her, and I hope her family's doing good from the right side. That's what I saw. Okay? So I'm seeing this coming from a certain direction, and so this is my quote. So what I've tried to do today is to speak out against what I consider to be evil. And yeah, I am pointing fingers, okay? Certain people lost an election that was polarizing as all hell, and I understand. But because they didn't win, now there is violence. Barack Obama was president for 8 years. Dude never got shot at. I couldn't stand the guy, quite frankly. But I didn't wish harm on the dude either, And it's like, why can't we do that on all sides? Okay. So, when good men do not speak against evil, then good men aren't doing a damn thing. And I would just like to encourage everyone that is hearing this fascist, these claims of fascism in America and Hitler and this rhetoric, tell somebody to shut up, and that they don't know what the hell they're talking about, because they don't. Throwing around stuff like 1930s Germany is ridiculous. The Dallas Cowboys are going to play on Sunday, and that's where we're going to lighten this up a little bit in a minute. But so in closing on this topic, and then I'm going to move to sports and Big Frank. But if you wish for violence from my speech today on September 11th, 2025, I'd like to make a statement. And I stole this from somebody a long time ago. But I will meet you on solid ground anytime, anywhere. Light or heavy? Light or heavy? And to the rest of you ghouls that wants bullets to dictate speech from here on, if that's what you want, you're not going to like what you're going to get. So, I hope that what I have to say didn't lose me too many people that are fans of my show. But if it did, that's fine. It's time to stop all of this. Because if it continues, nobody wins. Nobody wins. We all lose. So, last thing on the topic. I need to talk about the security of these events. I've been in the security world for a long ass time. And how are these dudes, freaking video gaming, sniping people on rooftops? What in the hell? Where... And the FBI can't make a decent arrest in 24 hours? What? So that brings me to this. It's the 80-20 rule. My father talks about this all the time. Used to, 80% of people did what they were supposed to do, and 20% didn't. So there's not a lot of slack left. This could be, the teller at the bank, from the CEO of whatever company, to the lawyer, to the doctor, to the policeman. Well, now the 80-20 rule is reversed, and we have 80% of the people not doing their effing job. And that's why planes are falling out of the sky, and that's why freaking John Kennedy assassination attempts are easy. You don't have a drone flying around. You're gonna have a 3,000 person event. We've already had multiple assassination attempts on the leader of the free world. You've got this firebrand, right-wing dude that people really hate. And here again, I'm not saying I probably agree with half the stuff he's talked about that I've listened to, but the other half I don't. I think he's a little much. Okay. However, you don't think that, the freaking university police department and his security team doesn't think that somebody wants to kill him, and you don't think they can't just fly a drone up and check the effing rooftops? Like, the incompetence from the security at these, and this kind of shit, is what conspiracies are made of. And I don't blame anyone who thinks that way, because it's just like, that's not adding up. And they're going to give us some head scratching perpetrator shooter, and we're all going to be like, I guess he could do that. I guess she could do that. And so this is just freaking conspiracy nightmare fuel. And in my opinion, it's created by crappy, police departments and security detail guys. They're all at every one of these events. This dude's standing there like a badass with his sunglasses on and all his tattoos. Guilty. And meanwhile, you got a dude on a roof with a freaking 308 aimed at your guy, at your the guy that pays you a lot of money. Charlie Kirk paid these dudes a lot of freaking money. So you got the Secret Service that can't even protect the president. So 80-20 rule, 80% of that world is totally inept. Just disgusting. We have drones that cost freaking $200 that could have figured that one out. And anyways, it'd be nice if professionals would act professional. That's all I'm saying. I did want to touch on that because that can't be disregarded or forgotten about. Is that okay? Now, can I lighten this up? Let's see. I got to look at my notes. Okay, let me. So that's what I think about all that. And thank you for listening to that. I hope it wasn't too ranty. It's not what I wanted to do, but I felt like it was important to cover some of that. Where was I September 11th, 2001? I was in geography class. I can't remember what class it was, but I just remember Mr. Wallum bolts through the door of a portable building. And, you know, back in the day, we all had these TVs in our classrooms on the big metal wheelie things. And Mr. Wallum says to Mr. Myers, "You got to turn on the TV now. Hurry. Something terrible's happened." So, sure enough, turn on the TV, and there it is. It was the first plane. And I guess maybe it was CNN, whatever we had. And, you know, you could see the people jumping out, leaping to their deaths. And, I mean, I'm 16, I guess, at that time. And it was just horrific. It was awful. Now, I spent years trying to decide what I felt about all that on the how and the why. But at this point in my life, I don't care anymore. I just feel terrible for all of those involved. I do care, like if we learned some more information on what really happened, I would care about that. And I have my own kind of thoughts on some of that stuff, but at the end of the day, I just hate it for those kids and wives and husbands and everything like that. So, and we don't think about we can't forget about the Pennsylvania plane crash where those dudes said, "Let's roll," and they decided they weren't going to go down like that day. And they all basically, like, you want to talk about, like, I got chills right now thinking about that. You know, we can all talk tough, but those people on that plane were pretty damn tough. And the Pentagon gets maybe that you know, here again, let me refrain from going conspiracy Looney Tune on you guys, but the Pentagon was hit, and it wasn't, but I think 6 months later, maybe it was more like, I can't put the nail on the head there, but I was in New York City not long after that happened, in Washington, D.C., and I freaking, you know, we were staying in a hotel that was not far from Ground Zero, and it was still, we went to Ground Zero, and it was still, wasn't smoking, but it was a pile of rubble. And we were about to get into our hotel when we got to the airport, we had to switch hotels because they found a body part of some sort nearby the lobby of the hotel. So, like, I wasn't there when it happened. I didn't, thank God, know anybody that was a victim, but I was there afterwards, pretty damn close, and that feeling will never ever escape my mind. And that's just, so, you know, have some reverence, folks, for that. And we can talk about what may or may not have actually happened on all days but today, maybe. How about that? Okay, so closing sad topics now. Okay? I was on the fence about even going into sports today just because of the freaking weight of everything. But we're going to talk sports because that's That's ultimately what we're here for. And and I really also encourage you to watch Trav's podcast before this one, because the young man he had on was very interesting. It'll be very interesting to hear more about that. So, Big Frank is basically going to carry this thing all the way home today, because I don't really got it in me. So, I'm going to call him up in a minute. Next week, we plan to have him on some sort of a Zoom call. I've said that for almost a year, but I'm serious. We're getting there. So Big Frank went to the WWE on last Friday Night SmackDown with his grandkids, and I need to also send Sammy one more picture for when I get Big Frank on the phone. Where? Here we are. Of his grandkiddos on the Bears truck. So here again, I hope all my Chicago people, sorry, I didn't mean to bash Obama like that, okay? I love Barack Obama, Chicago. Don't leave me. Anyways, so I'm going to call Big Frank and, oh, it looks like I got a missed call from him. Maybe we'll be okay here. We're going to talk Bears football. Yikes. Bears lost on Monday Night Football. That was a rough one.
Hello.
Hey, Big Frank, how the heck are you?
What's going on, Ben? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm ready for this show to get onto the sports side of things. I kind of went, and I had a disclaimer in the beginning of the show. I said my thoughts or opinions on controversial topics are not those of my guests or producers. So you're in the clear.
Okay. All right. Good.
But anyways, yeah, I wanted to start before we got into the Bears and everything like that. Do you remember where you were on 9/11 when it happened in 2001?
Yeah, I do. I was working. I was in the meat industry, and that was back in the social media wasn't out there, obviously, and everything. And I happened to be out on the floor, and when I came inside, somebody had turned on. We used to have televisions where we would able to watch, videos and stuff like that. And when we brought people in, we would give them tours and, we would show videos of our plant and stuff. And they had it on. And that's when I first heard about it, I was working. And like I said back then, without social media and everything, if you weren't watching the television, cell phones were out, but I don't think we had the cell phones that we have now. It might have been just like flip phones and stuff like that. So you got most of your news back then on the television. So
Right. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Yeah, I was just trying to kind of give a little reverence to that today, just because, I feel like my aged kids, they weren't even around or a thought back then, and so kind of got to show them, what, so it's not forgotten and all that kind of thing. You know what I mean? But it's kind of crazy because these kids, they weren't even alive back then,
No, and I think that's the one nice thing about social media is it keeps that stuff, going now.
Yes.
These kids a way to, because that's how kids communicate nowadays, and that's how they get all their news. It depending upon what show they're watching, and everybody can, stretch the news however they want it. You know what I mean? If
that's right.
They're all the conspiracy theorists or whatever. And if you listen to that, well, okay, that's fake news and all this. And so most of these kids get their news and information off of the internet where, obviously me with being in my, late 60s, most of our news for most of our life has come through either televisions or newspapers.
Right.
And, with social media and everything, what's on there, it's like, how I look at it is, well, who do you believe? You know what I'm saying? If it's not, and you read this stuff and you hear, so, well, did you, so-and-so, I said, well, where did you get that on social media? I said, well, I didn't see it on TV. He goes, well, it won't be on television because they won't show it because, that's all fake, so
right.
It's like, that balancing act of, with this new generation of what these kids were brought up on, and they were born into an era where everything comes on social media and through your phone.
Right.
So it's like, okay, who do you believe and what do you believe? I mean, I'm sure depending upon what you look at, some of that stuff on 9/11 could be very misconstrued as actually what happened, depending upon how they put it out there. So
Exactly. Yeah, you're right about that for sure.
mm-hmm. Yes. So
Okay, well, now to the lighter portion of this show. You got it. We got it.
Wait a minute. You got to give me a minute to rant here and vent. If you're a Bears fan, it's totally different. What? The same old crap. It's just the same stuff, and it doesn't change. You play a great game. That was a national televised game. You've seen it for 3 quarters. We were unbeatable. And then all of a sudden, Minnesota made the adjustments, and then we couldn't make the adjustments. And Caleb Williams is doing the same stuff he did last year. He's got the happy feet. He can't see where the receiver. He's overthrowing, underthrowing. It's ridiculous. I mean, you got to give him another year with this new guy. But, I mean, I don't know. We can never seem to get it right. It's like maybe we should have picked Jaden Daniels instead of, Caleb Williams. And, they got all of I guess there's this book coming out soon.
Oh, yeah.
About quarterbacking. And it goes into detail about some scouts were totally against the Bears drafting Caleb Williams. But, Ryan Pace wouldn't listen to it. He was sold on it because of the things that's happening right now. Slow to process the game, can't find the open receiver. If the receiver's not open, he won't throw it. It's not like these good quarterbacks where they throw the ball sometimes before even the receiver sees it in a break, recognizing if they're in cover 2, if they're playing man, or if they show man and go to cover 2. All this stuff that you have to process within less than 3 seconds. And the great ones do it, and the also-rans don't, And I, from what I've seen so far, this kid doesn't have it yet. Now, it's to say that he can get it because look at his first 2 drives. He was 10 for 10 and it was unbelievable. But then after that, he just falls back into those old habits because, this is the NFL, and the Minnesota, after halftime, made the adjustments. They started blitzing him more. Making him rush his throws. And when he rushes throws, he doesn't look and go through his reads properly. So,
yeah, that's well, hopefully this is just a little hiccup in the beginning of the season, right?
Yeah, well, hopefully it is. But like I said before, I mean, they got a tough schedule this year. Now they're going to have to go play Minnesota. Detroit next week. Okay, that's where Ben Johnson came from. Now, Detroit got embarrassed by the Packers.
Yeah.
So they're going to be, really looking forward to beating this game along with Ben Johnson. And then, we have the Cowboys, and then, we come home and or we go away and play the Raiders before we go into our break. So, it'll say a lot after these first four games of where we're at. Before he gets a break, before he starts, possibly making changes, which he says he will if everything is not going according to the way he wants his offense run. So,
right. Well, I definitely think you got the right coach. I hope so. But
yeah,
and I think he will make adjustments if he needs to. I don't think he's scared to.
Yeah, absolutely. But, it's just like you got to be happy your Raiders won.
Oh, man, that was so exciting.
Yeah, I mean, that looked like they played pretty good. And, Geno Smith, he's a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. He's a good one. And he can kind of, keep you going until you guys get your next one, in there. But I thought they played a good game. And, you say what you want about this Aaron Rodgers, and I'm an Aaron Rodgers. I love Aaron Rodgers. Now, you got to separate the Aaron Rodgers, the football player, from Aaron Rodgers, the person.
Yeah.
Because opinions on a lot of stuff. But what separates Aaron Rodgers from all of these ones is his brains. This guy is so smart. And I think the really great quarterbacks, when you look at them, like Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, athletic wise, I mean, they're okay. They're not gonna kill you in a 40-yard dash. But where they get you at is the smarts, how they can read a defense, how they can know where to throw the ball. Regardless of those are the upper elite ones. Patrick Mahomes is that way now. And those are the elite quarterbacks that can do that and process the game fast. And the ones that don't they just don't have the smarts or the intelligence to process that within the 3 seconds that you need to do before, think of how many million things you have to think about in 3 seconds, and hit the right thing. There's a lot that go on. It's like a golfer in a golf swing. He's got 50 thoughts going through his mind in the 3 seconds it takes you to swing a golf club,
Right.
It's almost like on the same thing, and the smart ones get it. And it's just something to watch. I mean, we were able to watch that game because we weren't playing on until Monday, and that was one of the games that we had local, and that was just a really good football game.
Yeah, that was amazing to watch. That was really he just picked them apart,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the Sunday night game, I almost gave up on it. I was going to turn the television off because I was kind of nodding off, and I go, well, okay, Buffalo tried to make it, and they made this, valiant effort, but they're going to run out of time, and they didn't. It was kind of like mismanagement, I think, on Baltimore's part. But sure enough, you give him, 20-some seconds or something, he gets him in field goal, and they kick a field goal, and they win the game. I mean, that was unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's the story of it's like Josh Allen is like Superman, and then Lamar Jackson just doesn't show up sometimes in those moments,
Yeah, I think it all goes back to, again, and this is just my opinion again, but it's like he's a great athlete, but is he a quarterback? Especially when you get into the playoffs or you're going up against these good teams where they can scheme you, they're going to try to take the run away from him and make him throw the ball. And he's not decisive enough sometimes on when he does it. And until he can show that he can win that big game and make the good decisions and make the good throws, he'll always just be known as a great running quarterback.
Yeah, and they sure are paying. They sure are paying for that too, aren't they?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, and he's really a good football player. But again, I don't know if he's going to be a top-notch quarterback. Now, could you win with someone like that? Sure, but whenever you go up against these really good teams in the playoffs that are going to scheme for just one game, if they take away your strong point, and in his case, it's his running ability to scramble and get guys open. If they could take that away from him, he's shown in the past to make mistakes and get the happy feet and throw away or throw an interception or an incomplete pass or something like that. So
heck yeah, man! I sent Sammy the pictures of your new tailgating rig. That looks so cool.
Yeah, it wasn't quite, just like anything, it wasn't quite all done. He had the music and everything, but some of the stuff on the inside, it wasn't done, but he wanted to have it ready, for us. So that's why we didn't get any pictures on the inside yet, but supposedly we're going to have it done, by this weekend, because I brought it back to him just to, finish it up. But the outside of the stuff just was
so cool. That's so cool. And I love how you have like your kids and grandkids' names on the back side of it. So cool.
Yeah, on the back we had put that in for it. So yeah, he did a nice job. So we're looking forward to having some fun with it. So
what do you think happens? I know what we want to happen, but against the Lions, I kind of feel like the Lions could be having a rough season this year altogether.
Yeah, they could. They've lost a lot. When they lose all your coordinators like that, and they lost a lot of offensive linemen. That one guy retired. I forget his name right now, but he was like an all-pro.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I think it was Ragnow was his name. I could be wrong on that, but he retired, and they lost another guy. So, they're hurting, and their defense is always pretty good. But yeah, they could be in trouble too. I don't know. It's going to be a tough game for us too, because you're going to be on the road, and unless again, if Caleb can play like he's played the first couple series, and and keep it going. And I thought our defense was missing. Our two starting corners were out, Gordon
That's
and
right.
Johnson, and our middle linebacker was out, Edwards, last week. So we played 3/4 of football, and I really couldn't blame the D because they probably just got worn out because every time they go 3 and out and turn the ball over to us,
Yeah.
the same back thing. We might have got one first down, but then we turn the ball over, and then we don't have a kicker that has any kind of leg in him. If he makes that one field goal, it's a tie game.
Yeah,
and
that one hurt.
and it hurts, and it's just like, as much as you try, you think you got everything, buddy. When you see a game, you could actually see that this guy, he doesn't have the leg. They should try to make a change, but it's so hard to get decent kickers in there. But that Steeler guy, he made almost a 60-yarder, didn't he?
That was crazy. I was like, surely this is not going to happen here,
Absolutely, but it's like some of these guys are really good, and then some of them you got like couldn't even do anything with it. So yeah, I don't know. For us, it's a toss-up for me. I'd like to see the Bears win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Detroit did, because Detroit, coming off such an embarrassing loss like that, now they're going home.
Yeah.
They might put up a good game, but we could beat them because I think, like you said, I think they're on a down year.
Yeah.
Lose buddy, they're having some issues now because you're not going to stay strong for a while. They had like 3 years there in a row, and then last year when they lost out in the end, and the way he gambles with going for it on fourth down, some of that stuff comes back to bite you a little bit. So
we'll be rooting for the Bears over here for sure.
We'll try. We'll see how it's gonna go. So
oh man, what other games do you like this weekend?
Well, I think tonight's game is going to be a really good game too. I'm looking forward to watching the Commanders and the Packers. And the Packers are 3.5 point favorites, I think, only because they're home. Micah Parsons, he played a limited snaps last week, and Green Bay's home. The talk around here is Green Bay is one of the top teams in the NFL now, along with the Eagles. And on the national side, it's like, they got it all now.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think it's going to be a tough game. I think Green Bay wins it, but that's going to be a good one too.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one for sure.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of tough ones that are coming out. A lot of, like we have 2 conference games right off the bat with Minnesota and in Detroit now. That's really kind of unheard of right off the bat, back to back like that.
That's right.
So who do your I don't have the schedule in front of me, but who do the Raiders play this week?
So my Raiders have, oh man, I'm almost there.
Yeah, I had it here too, but I don't. I just got the Bears schedule here, so
it looks like 9 p.m. It's a double header. I hate when they do that too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right.
Buccaneers, Texans, and then Chargers, Raiders. That one I'm scared to death of right there.
Yeah, and that's like a 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock game out here, 10 o'clock, because, they have both of them on at the same night, so that's going to be a real late game. I mean, if you wanted to, if you're on the West Coast, it only starts at 8 o'clock, which is, okay, but out here, that's like a 9, 10 o'clock game. And so that could go into 1, 2 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah, that's a little crazy. And, it might be better that way because that could be an ugly one for us. The Chargers are looking pretty good,
They look good against Kansas City, you're right, yeah.
And then, who else I'm excited to watch throughout the season is the Falcons and Michael Penix Jr. I think that's interesting right there,
Yeah, it is. And Tampa Bay looked good again. I mean, they kind of squeaked one out. There wasn't really any crazy upsets, I don't think, this week. I mean, it was always kind of like, unless it was a pick'em game, but I think the ones that were favored to win, won and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out within the next, couple games. Cause, you got Lions, the Chiefs, and then, Baltimore all 0-1. You don't want to lose 2.
No.
Look at the stats. If you start out 0-2, it's like very limited percentage that you can make it even to the playoffs, let alone the Super Bowl.
That's right.
Years past. So I think you're going to see a lot a lot of teams really, really push to win this week, especially if they lost the first week.
Heck
You
yeah.
know?
So that's why this Lions Bears game, that's gonna be a street fight right there.
Oh yeah, I mean, because then, like I say, then we have the Cowboys come home next week, and then then we go out and play the Raiders. Your guys out there, and you guys are always tough at home.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we can easily. I mean, if we're 0-4 going into that, there's going to be some big changes. I'd like to see us at least be 2-2.
Yeah, absolutely.
2-2 would be a lot better. I doubt if we can go 3-1, but if we can go 2-2 those first four, we can be on the right track. But man, I tell you, if they go 0-4, there's going to be a lot of chatter around here especially if it's a quarterback issue. Let's make a change. Let's sit this guy for a while. Let's see what this other guy can do, because we don't want to get too far behind, and so it'll be interesting. It's kind of a pressure situation already after the first game. You know what I mean?
Right out the gates. That's what the beauty of the NFL is. There's only 17 games or whatever.
Yeah, it's like, I was listening. They said, well, if you're 1-0, man, we're going to the Super Bowl. Everything. You're 0-1. Oh, we suck. Fire the coach. We stink.
That's right. Oh, that's amazing. So good. All right, Big Frank. Well, thanks for making time for us today, like you do. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Hey, listen, I got to tell you, we went to SmackDown on Friday too.
Oh yeah.
We had a sports weekend here. We surprised my grandkids. We took them to SmackDown, and I think I sent you a video of that one too.
Yes, I think I got Sammy on that right now. Yeah.
And then Saturday we just watched college, and then Sunday we were picking up the truck, and then Monday we had the Bears game. But it's been years since I've been to a wrestling event live, and it was without a doubt. I think wrestling live is one of the best entertainment sports to go to.
Nice.
To see it's unbelievable. It's a different type of crowd.
Right.
John Cena was there, and it was classic, man.
And you got some Brock Lesnar too, right?
We got some Brock Lesnar. He come back in and got rid of Sami Zayn, who was wrestling John Cena, because that first match went almost an hour.
Oh wow!
It was like a WrestleMania match, where they were going back and forth with countdowns. And Cena kind of had him, but Brock Lesnar came out, and then that was the end of that one.
Yeah, man, you guys got such a good one. I watched that some of that show, and it was, you guys lucked out on that one for sure.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So, and my grandson, who's he wants to be a professional wrestler when he grows up. Now, he was,
of course,
just with his mouth wide open, couldn't believe it, because it's crazy. You never sit down at those things. You're always standing up. So it was fun to go to wrestling. So.
Well, that's so cool. I'm glad you guys got to do that.
All righty, buddy.
All right, Big Frank. Well, we'll holler at you next week, and hopefully it's with 2 wins for our teams.
At least maybe I can start contributing. You guys are already in the win column. We need to get there.
That's right. That's right. All right, Big Frank. You have a great day. Thanks again.
All right. Talk to you soon, Ben. Bye.
See you, buddy. All right. See, how about that for lifting our spirits over here at the Breakdown with Big Frank? I love that. Really, really needed that. And thanks again, Big Frank, for joining our program and being a part of the Breakdown family here, if you will. And hopefully you just skipped through all the parts before you came on, because it was a little dark. So I think that was at about 47 minutes in, Big Frank. So when you're rewatching this, just skip on through. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, thanks again. And to close up shop here, what do? We just peruse our Wall Street Journal. Today, this article is about what we know about America's 1,135 billionaires. That's kind of a lot of billionaires, don't you think? Let's see. It looks like this is a little interesting, then we'll close up. The oldest billionaire, George Joseph, turns 104 this month. He founded insurer Mercury General in 1961 and remains its chairman and major shareholder. The dude's 104. That's crazy. That dude's got some drugs that we can't get our hands on. We know the Kochs, Mary Julia Koch and David Koch Jr. These are among the U.S. billionaires under 30. They are the two heirs of that company. Let's see here. The richest self-made woman, 78 years old, started ABC Supply in 1982 with her late husband in Wisconsin. The company now employs over 20,000 people. That's Diane Hendricks. And the chief founder of NVIDIA, 62, Jensen Huang, his stock has been on a tear for the past decade. He is treated like a pop star in his birthland of Taiwan. That's cool. Okay. Who do we have here? The last one? Yours truly. Not yours truly, that'd be me. Taylor Swift. The singer, 35, boosted the economics of cities around the world with her Eras Tour, which ran from March 2023 to December 2024. Taylor Swift now a billionaire, folks. Travis Kelce signing prenups to marry that one, I guarantee it. Okay, here again, my thoughts and opinions at the beginning and midway point of this show are my thoughts and my opinions alone. They're not the thoughts of opinions of anybody else in the breakdown, Big Frank's or Sammy's. They are mine. And I was not intended to create any divisiveness. I just thought it was really important, given that I have this microphone right here. Anyways, here's to free speech. Something fell upstairs. Here's the free speech, and hopefully we can have less and less political violence. That would be lovely. Anyways, Sammy, you can take us out. Thanks, Sammy, my producer. Y'all have a great day, guys. Thanks for putting up with me. Hope you have a good weekend. Go Raiders. Go Bears.